Good evening. I call this Lower Mackenzie Township Planning Commission meeting to order. Today is April 14th, 2026, and the time is 6 o'clock. Roll call. All Planning Commission members are present, which means we have a quorum present. Also in attendance, the Director of Community Development, Vince Transgooch, Township Engineer Brian McAdam, Township Zoning Officer Chris Russo, Township Planner Nathan Jones, and I'd like to point out that Township Solicitor Mark Fisher is absent tonight. Just a reminder to all those speaking tonight, please speak clearly into the microphones because this is being recorded. The first order of business, the approval of the minutes from March 10th, 2026. Have all the Planning Commissioner members had an opportunity to review those minutes?
Yes.
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 Is there any discussion?
No.
Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Next order of business is item 4.1, which is 721 North Brookside Road Apartments Sketch Plan. So I'd like to invite the applicants to come forward. Nathan, do you want to say anything first, or should the applicants
I
present?
can give a brief overview, if that's okay with you, Mr. Chair, just to provide some background information before they get into their presentation.
Sure.
Okay, excellent. So staff has reviewed this. This is a sketch plan. So as it's a sketch plan per township policy, we generally, we do not issue review letters and we offer comments in the meeting. This is at 721 North Brookside Road. So it's on the north side of Hamilton Boulevard, right across from Medical Center and more or less right off coming off of Route 222. The lot in question is a half acre in size. The applicants are proposing a 6-unit apartment structure, 32,000 square feet building. As proposed and per township zoning ordinance, this use would require a conditional use hearing and approval if it were to go forward after a sketch plan. I should note that we have the side yard setbacks at 20 feet, the 15-foot setback that's closer to North Brookside Road there, and there are 10 parking spaces at the rear of the structure. There's also garbage refuse collection and an access drive that does come out to meet the abutting road for a 4-way essentially. There was no architecture as this is a sketch plan, but a design companion would be required at the conditional use hearing phase to see what the building looks like to ensure that it meets the township's design guideline standards. In addition to that, the sketch plan does include a landscaping plan. It shows generous plantings on both side yards. There's existing tree line at the rear of the lot that abuts the highway. We do recommend that stay in place. As far as stormwater management goes, there is underground retention proposed at this point in time. And we did not see as part of the sketch plan, other than sidewalk, any streetscape amenities, or outside, common space amenities that are generally proposed with such projects in the township. However, with that, that's the brief overview. I would invite either the applicants to provide their presentation, but I do know that Mr. McAdam has had the ability to take a look at this as well if he wants to offer any technical design aspect comments.
Okay, first I'd like to invite the applicants to introduce themselves and walk us through the project, and then I'll turn it over to Township Engineer.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you. I think that was a good explanation, Nate. I'm Jason Schweier with Keystone Consulting Engineers, representing Naveed Hadian with Dane Dune LLC, who's the property owner. So currently, this isn't a vacant. Well, there's an existing garage on the lot with an existing stone driveway that fronts 721 North Brookside Road. To the north of the property is the Brookside Early Education Center. It's bounded to the east by the PA Turnpike, and to the south is a single-family residential home. The driveway is aligned with Medical Center Circle on Brookside Road for access. Obviously, it's a PennDOT highway, so we understand we would need to coordinate with PennDOT. 6-unit dwelling apartment with 10 proposed parking spaces. We're, obviously just a sketch plan, but for stormwater management, we'll be looking at an underground detention facility beneath the parking area, capturing runoff from most of the paved area, and that would discharge out to existing storm sewer within North Brookside Road. The lot would be served by public water and a sanitary sewer. I think, obviously we have a 10-foot buffer around the side yards and rear yards, and we'll be maintaining as much existing vegetation in the rear as possible, and supplementing the side yards with proposed screenings. Really, obviously we're here for a sketch plan, so just welcome any comments from staff and the board to enable us to move forward with the project.
Great, thank you. Brian.
Yeah, a bunch of stuff jumps out at me. I realize this is just a sketch, but the couple of things that stood out when we reviewed it, the ultimate right-of-way is 80 feet, so 40-foot half-width. Based on the dimensions shown on the plan, the ultimate right-of-way line would need to kick into the site another 10 feet. The road width is not dimensioned, but the ordinance requires 38-foot cartway width. So there's a potential for widening being needed, or at least a waiver. I guess more importantly, jumping back to the right-of-way matter, we had concerns about a few things regarding overall circulation and parking and driveway width. Two-way driveway is required to be 24 feet. Plan shows 20. And the parking calculations that are on the plan are based on the prior ordinance requirement. The current ordinance requirement, as adopted last fall, requires 1.75 spaces per unit for multifamily residential developments. Excuse me. So for a 6-apartment project, you need 11 spaces minimum. And as discussed with staff, it just seems like there's not enough parking as shown right now. I think even bumping it up to one more space to be numerically compliant probably wouldn't still be enough from the standpoint of practically providing sufficient parking for the apartments. And the other aspect that is actually kind of critical goes back to the right-of-way width and the ordinance definition as adopted in the fall for lot area. The township adopted the saldo requirements, which means that easement areas need to be subtracted out from the gross area. So we were wondering if once easements are subtracted out, the right-of-way is bumped back. It appears that there may be an issue with impervious coverage, either being super tight relative to the zoning requirements or being over. So I just see a lot of issues in taking this from sketch to land development plan. We do recognize that there's an underground storage facility proposed to tie into the existing storm sewer system. So obviously the intent is to be compliant, but once design is prepared and reviewed, we'll get a deeper dive on that. Other things to mention, as the applicant's engineer mentioned, a PennDOT permit will be needed. It's a PennDOT road. It's a change in use as well as a new location for the driveway. We have no issue with the proposed driveway location, but as mentioned, it would need a PennDOT permit. So, there's a lot of stuff here. When we spoke with staff, I believe the fire marshal has looked at the plan or will be looking at the plan. In terms of general site stuff, one of the things that I was a bit concerned about, and I can't speak for the fire marshal, but in all of my years of doing this, my understanding is that the folks that drive the fire trucks generally do not like to back out of a site and onto a public street. The turning templates that are provided show that the fire truck needs to swing out into the opposite lane to get into the site. As part of the land development review, we would certainly look for, in addition to a 24-foot wide driveway, we would look for a little bit larger curb radius. But also, I have a hard time with a fire truck pulling in straight and kind of having to stop because it can't maneuver anywhere else and then having to back out onto the site. I don't want to speak for the fire marshal, but I suspect that will be an issue. I don't necessarily have a good solution since the project site is relatively narrow. It'd be kind of hard to have a loop around the building. So that may present a problem as well. But I have to defer to the fire marshal because I do not want to speak out of turn nor, it just looks like it will be an issue. So, the other thing is the trash truck movements that are shown with the turning templates. Not uncommon for tight sites. The truck has to back up and, kind of make a K-turn type of thing. Not ideal, but it's private. So, and as presented, it doesn't impact the existing spaces. So, it's really tight, but, it will be improved if the driveway width gets wider and the radii at Brookside Road are increased. So that's kind of, the highlights from what we noticed. I do have a lot of other comments, but I think that they're more, some of the more obvious things and I'm kind of curious to hear where the Planning Commission stands on some concerns or observations as well. But those are what I feel like are our highlights.
Thank you, Brian. Let's open it up to the commission for comments.
So I'll piggyback on Brian's comment. Going back to the most recent winter that we had, when you think about all the snow that stayed stuck for so long and never melted, it was frozen forever. So when you piggyback on Brian's comments in both the slide 6, where you show the truck and the emergency turn lane, you're assuming that typically what happens in the winter, those edges and perimeters are stacked up with snow, right? And it's very difficult, such small space for the trucks to be able to make that turn based upon the sizes of the spaces that are there, assuming that there aren't other cars that are parked there. So I do think, piggybacking on Brian's comment, I echo everything that he's saying, but I'm also pragmatically just thinking back to all of the other things that could be in these spaces. And in case of an emergency, you may not be able to have the snow removed or other things that are there. So I just am very concerned about the limited range of space for turning around in that particular area.
Yeah, I guess as far as snow removal, I think there's sufficient, green space around the parking that I don't think there's any issue of, as long as maintenance is done accordingly, that there would be issue clearing that parking lot.
But it just adds to everything Brian already said. I'm just adding more element to
Sure,
it,
yeah,
right?
understood.
That says there's very limited space for opportunities to prevent those types of things. And this past winter, the snow was so compacted, there was no space to move it, right? So again, it's just another observation, I think just making bold, underline Brian's comments about that. I just think it's something that it needs to be revisited.
Okay, any other comments?
Jason, a couple questions I have. So you have 6 proposed apartments, you have 11 spaces. People have a party on the weekend, where are they parking? I assume you're expecting them to park across the street. Now we have people walking across one of the most horrible places to walk in our community. What are we doing about them? Do you have any common areas planned for this so people can go outside and maybe barbecue outside, picnic area? I don't know. I'm just asking the question. And your water containment from, how are you going to get it from your catch basin out to the storm sewer system?
Yeah, so as far as, there's further investigation into that, but the concept would be piping it out to in between the building and the north side of the property, piping it out to Brookside, and there's a storm sewer inlet just to the north of the property, so there would be access to connect to the storm sewer.
Well, I'm not worried about the access. I went out to the property. It's pretty level. Are you is the catch basin going to be up a little bit? So, even if you gravity feed it, it's going to be a substantial distance to move that water. Just a question.
Yeah, with storm sewer, we were able to kind of keep that at minimal grades, but that's something that we're certainly be cognizant of and design those details as we get into it.
Jason, if I may interject just very briefly here, in looking at the plan, just for clarity, there's no proposed infiltration then on site in any way whatsoever?
I don't think so. We would not be subject to MPDS requirements, and it would just be the township stormwater
Correct.
167 ordinance.
Yeah, but we would still expect some attempt to get infiltration. I respectfully, the site isn't big enough to warrant an NPDES permit, but the township ordinance does require water quality and volume control. So we would be looking to confirm whether or not there would be infiltration available, and if not, some measure of how you're going to handle volume control.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, I guess I was assuming that, again, we'll look into those details, but assuming if it was a karst area, if that was still a requirement of the volume control?
Typically, it's based on a loading ratio, and you got a pretty small one here, so I don't know that would be a problem. But I think if the project moves forward and gets to design for land development, I think we'd have to take a deeper dive on that to make sure that we're not just glossing over something because it doesn't need an NPDES permit. So.
Yeah, and again, I guess, if it needs to be an infiltration facility, we can design it that way.
Yeah, and I'm not saying I am going to insist on an infiltration system. I just feel like we have to investigate and make sure that we're getting water quality and volume control measures in some fashion.
Understood.
So, and something that I neglected to mention going through my list, the ordinance requires curbing for multifamily residential projects. So right now, I don't believe the plan shows curbing, but the drives and the parking area will need to be curbed, which I thought of when Ozias was talking about the snow removal. It's the curbing certainly wouldn't be an impediment because a truck could lift the snow up over it, but we can't just count on pushing the snow off the parking lot unless a waiver is requested and granted. So, and in a weird way, the curbing would allow for a little bit more efficient stormwater collection of the paved areas, but dependent on how things play out with the design, maybe maybe there would be some curb cuts to allow the water to get into a vegetated swale or something like that. So just a lot of different design elements that would need to be factored in if the plan moves forward.
Thank you, Brian. Anything, Jennifer?
I think what I would like to see is just more of an outdoor space, like two others have said. I think that that's an important factor, especially in multifamily units. I don't know if there's a consideration to decrease the number of units in there from 6 to 4. I don't know if that'll help in any of the other considerations that the Planning Commission is asking you to make regarding the parking, the facility, the water facility, underground containment facility. So I would just like to see more of an outdoor space, and also definitely keeping the buffer of the trees on the side of the highway, as well as increasing more on the opposite sides.
Thank you.
Environmental perspective.
Jessica?
Yeah, I want to echo kind of what everybody else is saying. Outdoor space, and then obviously parking is a pretty big concern. I also have a question a little bit about the walkway, your sidewalk there. Is the plan in the front to have that connect all the way to where basically the edge of the property is before the daycare?
Correct. Yeah, it would be sidewalk along the frontage of the subject parcel.
Okay. It's kind of nice. I think that's essentially it. But yeah, like an outdoor space, I think is something that's missing. But otherwise, I don't have anything else to add.
Okay, great, thanks. A lot of my comments were already addressed. Excuse me. Has there been any thought of, is this going to be a 3-story building or a 2-story building?
A 2-story building.
Story. Is it going to be oriented along Brookside, or is it going to be oriented towards the plan south?
This is south.
South?
Yep.
Okay. Moving forward, we'd have to see the design packet, like Nate said, but I'm interested to see what the architectural character is of the building, to see how it fits in with the rest of the community. Like Jennifer said, welcome all the landscaping as possible on the plan north and plan south to keep the headlights down from the adjacent property. I think that's important. And that's it. Does anybody else have any other comments from the commission?
Just have one more question, I think. So you said it's a 2-story building. So are they all just a little bit about the inside of, like, what are you thinking? Is this 1-bedroom apartments? Is it 2-bedroom apartments? Okay. I was just trying to think of the square footage per approximately. Especially then that leads to like a little bit more of the parking concern, because if it's a 2-bedroom, you're likely going to have at least 2 drivers potentially in there.
Yeah, that's something we'll take into consideration.
Thanks.
Yeah, I know the zoning ordinance accounts for guests somewhat, but just from a realistic standpoint, like Rick was saying, if there's a party or a birthday party or whatever it is, and where are people going to park outside of these 10 spots? And also, to echo, I think, Jennifer, if I can remember correctly, I think the 6 apartments is just too much for this property. I mean, I drove by it tonight. It just feels like there's just not enough space in terms of parking and otherwise, but those are just our opinions. So do you have any more questions or comments on behalf of the applicant?
Yeah, I think so the only thing there was mention of the fire marshal reviewing that. Would there be any forthcoming comments related to that? I think we would like to just see what they have to say on this.
We could forward any comments along to the applicant.
Great.
Thanks.
Are there any comments from the public?
I just have one quick comment.
Sure, Chris.
Just to add on to what was already stated, I'm not going to repeat a couple of things, but the one item I have is related to lighting, just to ensure there's safe access to and from for the tenants, and fixture specific information that is dark sky compliant.
Gotcha.
So no comments from the public. Anything, Vince?
Nothing further, thank you.
All right. Nate, anything?
Nothing further. Thank you.
All right. Well, I appreciate you guys coming in, and we look forward to seeing how this project progresses. Thank you.
All right, thank you for your time.
It's always an issue because
All right. Next on our agenda is 4.2 Staff Department Report.
Yes, I just have one update for the group this evening. Just so everyone knows, the Board of Commissioners did recommend and vote to advertise the data center zoning ordinance. So there will be a hearing scheduled in May for that. And then we do have those number of other projects that are listed on the agenda that you can see. Those are all in varied forms of review right now or receiving extensions with an anticipated future submission. I'm happy to answer any other questions you might have, though.
Any questions? All right. Thank you, Nate. There are no other items on the agenda, so is there a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
I second.
Seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. The April 14th, 2026 Lorimer Country Township Planning Commission meeting adjourned at 6:26. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan.
Nate. Bye, Nate.